I came to Columbia because I wanted to deepen the intellectual context of my work.
There's such a rich tradition and history here of journalism and what it means to be a journalist.
I'm at Columbia because it's the best place to learn journalism, period.
The instructors here act as mentors.
One of the reasons that I went to Columbia was the faculty. Just about everybody had real-world experience.
You take lessons from the classroom and go right out into the field.
I can shoot, edit, produce.
The experience here was priceless because of the professors.
Do online media, I can produce radio pieces, I can do television pieces, and most importantly, I can write and report a story.
To be an investigative reporter, you have to have a low threshold of indignation. That's a polite way of saying you get angry when you see things that aren't right, that are not just. That's one of the things that I try and teach my students.
The mission of the school is to train the future leadership of the profession of journalism. That's very important to us. Our students will make this profession better than it is now and lead it to new places.
Whether you're reporting for a newspaper or a website or a blog, it's the reporting that'll make a difference and that makes our students stand out.
Columbia is one of the greatest universities in the world, and it's really an extraordinary resource for us as journalists. This is a place where faculty across a very broad range are really the best people in their fields, and you have access to extraordinary intellectual riches here.
The lead is still cutting.
The lead is cutting. I came here wanting to be an on-air reporter, and as the year has gone on, I've really warmed up to the idea of producing.
It's not going to be a two-way?
It's going to be a two-way, but she's going to be at the desk.
And when I was the executive producer, I was managing the entire show.
If you can try to get one or two shots, that would be great.
So everything from initial story ideas to keeping people on track, seeing how their interviews were progressing.
I was worried about starting with the Democrats.
To stacking the show itself and deciding how much international news are we going to have, how much local news, what are our headlines going to be. The show changes a million times throughout the day, and then you just get up to the point where it's 5:30 and you're going to air and you're scared. You're scared that something's going to go wrong or not everything's going to come together.
Cue 'em.
Good evening and welcome to Columbia News Tonight.
To see all of the work you've put in throughout the past week come together and be this succinct, actual show is amazing.
You guys are so
good. Learning here is better than learning on the job. Learning on the job, the stakes are way too high. If you make a mistake, people's lives are ruined. Your institution is tarnished.
Summarize this tightly.
This is the place to learn, to experiment, and sometimes make mistakes, but learn from those mistakes.
The thing that's really unique about it, it gives you an opportunity to go and get a master's degree in a period of 9 months to a year, and under really pressure conditions that simulate the real world.
It just opened the door for the rest of my career. It paid off tremendously. I made incredible friends here. I mean, I feel like I have a family of journalists, of friends who've just been here from the very beginning.
Almost all our faculty members are active journalists. It's one of the best things about this place. You're working with some of the best journalists in the world who are on our faculty.
This is the City Department of Health, obviously.
Yes.
And they make such a difference in the growth and the development of our students. To turn out the world's best journalists, the world's smartest journalists who can really have an impact on society and really connect with their audiences.
Having gone through 30 years of this, I understand how important it is to prepare these students for the incredible challenges that they're going to face. Ones we can't even imagine at this point because the industry's changing so rapidly.
I feel like there's a standard at Columbia, and you always want to have that standard, the Columbia standard, the Columbia J School standard, to filter, is this credible, is this not credible?
Don't take no for an answer, don't give up.
If we teach them the basics of fairness, getting their facts straight, being ethical, caring about not just the story, but about the people that they write about and the impact that their stories are going to have on their lives, those are important lessons that can be carried forward in whatever form journalism takes.
I've been working for about 10 years As a journalist, I've worked a lot in Afghanistan and the Middle East, mostly as a print reporter, as a writer. I enjoyed working in the field, but there was something that I missed there. So one of the things that I wanted to do at Columbia was to come in and talk with other people about ideas, and I missed that. I kind of missed that intellectual stimulation, and I wanted my journalism to improve.
For the MA program, you take a series of classes, evidence and inference, history of journalism, and then your seminar in a particular subject area, in my case, business and economics, that assumes that you know how to be a journalist. They don't try to teach you how to write a lead. It helps you take your reporting and interviewing and writing to the next level.
One of the things I love about the MA is that we're not focusing on sort of turning out quick news stories. We're really trying to focus on a way of thinking and a way of approaching a story that is much deeper and richer.
You could have written the same kind of argument about almost any art form.
The MA program is collaborative. We draw from the various other schools at Columbia, so that when we study Shakespeare, when we study arts policy, when we study globalization, in each of those areas and many others, we're working in collaboration with authorities in those areas from elsewhere in the school.
The students in the MA program change enormously in the space of just 9 months. Their writing is transformed and their way of thinking is transformed, and that also is a very powerful experience. It makes me just think that you can, recreate yourself and recreate the way you do things. And that's very, very inspiring.
I was drawn to Columbia because it's the best school for journalism in the world. The training I received here is priceless because you learn hands-on.
This word is used a lot in the media to describe immigrants.
You are reporting. You are given a beat from the first week of school. You report from that beat. You develop contacts. You develop stories. So you're, in essence, working as a journalist from day one. You are expected to meet deadlines, and you are taught and encouraged to write at the highest levels from the minute you walk into the classroom.
Columbia is a tremendous training ground for great reporting. I did a series for The Nation magazine on soldiers who were being purposely misdiagnosed by military doctors who are labeling them mentally ill instead of wounded. I testified before a congressional hearing that was called to investigate my reporting. And President Bush signed a law requiring the Secretary of Defense to investigate my series. Columbia directly prepared me for this kind of reporting.
It's a very rare and pure place that ends up imbuing the students with standards. So how do you maintain the standards and yet compete in this new media universe? Well, those are the challenges that a place like Columbia wrestles with, and you try to work out a way to preserve standards while meeting the requirements of the new media.
New media is a fully integrated component of the curriculum. Every class you're in has a web page, and it simulates real life, that you have to upload stories, and there are deadlines to be met just as though you were working out in the field.
It's not just about print articles, and especially because the job market's changed so much. I learned video, audio, I'm building websites, interactive graphics. Obviously, I haven't slept either, but I've been able to learn all these new media skills. When we talk about new media with editors, I tell them I'm doing new media, and I think our conversation goes to a whole different level.
Our journalism students, when they walk out of here, they're able to walk into any newsroom, and they have the context and traditional reporting skills, but also have a digital overlay, so they understand how all the new technologies work, and then they can decide which of their new tools that they've learned to deploy for particular stories.
You can send it through emails, you can Facebook it, you can MySpace it.
These things mean that the capacity to do in-depth, serious journalism is vastly enhanced.
Journalism schools are in the same position that the rest of the news business is in, which is trying to figure out a climate that nobody fully understands and nobody has conquered. that actually puts journalism schools in a potential position of enormous influence, because if they can figure it out, they can be more influential than I think they've ever been before.
We believe that graduates of our school can quite quickly be really part of the conversation about where journalism is going.
I've become a better writer, and I think I've become a better journalist. I've really been able to think critically, think ethically, and write better, and just the amount of skills I've learned, I think that's totally made me a different person.
Having feedback to my work was very rewarding. There's a lot of recognition somehow that comes with that. It's different than seeing your byline in the paper, and it's a powerful thing.
When you're here at Columbia, you realize why you're doing this and why journalism is so important. And so I leave here very inspired.
You are going to be so prepared when you walk out of those doors. You're going to have a confidence that you've never had before. You learn an enormous amount in a short amount of time and feel like you can take on the world.